What's going on, guys? Welcome to your 10th Java tutorial for my Bring Back. Again with me, Travis. What we're going to learn about today is interfaces. And a lot of people don't talk about interfaces this early in like a tutorial or in like a book or anything. But I wanted to get you guys familiar with it. So if you guys ever get confused in this tutorial or even the previous tutorial, know that I'm well aware of that, and just stick with the series and you'll learn it. I just wanted to get you guys kind of familiar with it and somewhat explain what it does, because it's kind of confusing. It seems like it's pointless, but it's very useful. You can do better things with like polymorphism, which we'll get into later. Big words, we don't need that right now. But it also helps kind of organize things, so you can think of it that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and create a new interface right here, right below class. It's going to be interface, and we're going to call this character interface, just so we can remember. Hit finish, and it creates it for us. So as you can see, the first thing that we notice is instead of this being public class character interface, it says public interface. So we're going to get into an interface, what that is, in a second. But before we do that, let's create a few more classes. We're going to create one called Travis, which is our first character in our game, make believe. Right now we're still learning Java a little bit, but we're going to create some other characters, some people that help me out with my bring back. So Jake and a TJ. Hit finish, and there we go. We have 3 characters now. Now what an interface does is it allows let me think how I want to say this. When you guys work on like a game or something, generally like not one programmer works on it. So an interface allows multiple programmers to kind of handle some methods or handle some kind of method, we'll say, a certain way, without exactly knowing the whole big picture. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some interfaces that's going to basically be like, if a character gets hit, what will they say? Also maybe some like damage points or something like that. So what we're going to do is within our interface class, we're going to say int, actually string, because it's going to be, this is what they're going to say when they get hit. So we're just going to call this get hit, and it doesn't take anything within its parameters, and we just finish it off like that. We're also going to create another one that's going to be a int value, and we're going to call this damage, something like that, and we're going to give it some parameters. So we're going to give it 2 ints. We're going to say current health, and we're also going to give it another int, say the amount of damage that we receive. So the first thing that you notice is you're like, okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on right now. It's not a method because we didn't say void or anything, and we also aren't defining it with brackets, but we also aren't setting this equal to anything, and this int called damage, we have some parameters on it or something. It kind of looks like a method. It's all whack. Like, what is going on? Like I said, I didn't mean to throw interfaces in your faces right now, but we're going to figure this out. So let's just say I don't have a lot of time. I'm going to develop the interface for a character. I can set up some kind of methods, as you can think of these as at the moment. Just think of these as methods. I can set these up, a ton of different things, you know, whatever. For now we're only working with 2, and then we can have another guy that's just programming Travis, because Travis is a baller. He has the best health, he has all these things, he's like the star character, all the ladies want him, you know, pretty basic. But there's going to be a lot of programming for Travis because he's so awesome. And then there's another programmer that's programming Jake and TJ as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow all these users to kind of handle these methods in different ways without exactly knowing the whole big picture. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go into the Travis interface after we save everything. And again, this was called character interface. And we're going to say implements. Character interface. And this is different than extends. Before we last tutorial we worked with extends, but now what we're doing is we're saying implement. So it's going to have to implement everything within this character interface. So that's why we're getting an error right now. because it has to implement all of the methods from this interface right here. So we can type out all those methods, or just simply Eclipse allows us to hover over, say, add unimplemented methods, click that. As you can see, we get some sort of method going on. And again, it's an override because we're referring to a superclass, as you can think of it, because we're implementing our character interface. And so we have this override, and it also returns some sort of value. And for now, if you guys get confused what this return is, because we haven't really worked with that yet, no big deal. I'll get to that in the next tutorial. But what I want to show you guys is we can set up a string value. I'm going to say Travis got hit, and we're going to set the string equal to be system. Sorry, we aren't going to do the system printout yet. We're just going to set this string equal to be, oh, that tickled a bit. And that's what we're going to return. Again, this might be a little bit confusing because we haven't really got into the return statement yet. But we're just going to return that string, and I'll again elaborate that in the next tutorial, this return statement. So, you know, it's like, okay, me, I don't really know the interface that well. Most likely I would, but if you guys were working on a team. But just implementing the interface, if they're like, hey, implement the character interface for each player. So I'm like, okay, I'll implement it, and then it gives me all these methods. I'm like, okay, a string get hit. They probably want that to be like some kind of saying or some kind of string after the player gets hit. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna have it say, oh, that tickled a bit, something like that. And then for the damage, I'll be like, okay, it gives us the current health, it gives us the damage. So we're just gonna say int, or say new health is equal to our current health minus the amount of damage done. Because again, we're getting passed in these two other ints, the current health and the damage done, and that's what we're going to return, the new health. Or we can even elaborate a little bit more, so we can say an if statement. If new health is less than 0, or I'm sorry, if new health is greater than 0, then we can return the current health. Else, we're going to return 0. Which is, so you guys can kind of look over the code. But for example, if we had 200 health points and we got damaged 100 health points, all it's going to do is going to set this new health variable equal to 200 minus 100, so it's going to be 100 for our new health, and that's what we're going to return when the statement gets called. But if we have 100 health and we get 200 damage points, we're going to be negative 100, so that's going to be less than 0. So it's not going to trigger this statement because that'll be false, so it's going to return this else statement, return 0. And you know, that's just, I think we went over the if else statement previously, but that's kind of how this works. Pretty simple. But then let's say I'm a different programmer that's programming for Jake, and we can also just say, oh yeah, we're supposed to also implement the character interface. And again, we have to add all those unimplemented methods, because when we extended, we could use some of the things from the class if we wanted to, some of those methods. But when we implement, again, we have to use those methods. So we're going to add those, and then me as a different programmer, someone else than the person programming the Travis character, can also kind of define this. So we can also say, like, we can even just, since it's looking for a string, we can just even say, ouch, that was painful. Something like that. So now when Jake gets hit, it returns this type of a string. Ouch, that was painful. And, you know, it also can do the damage however he chooses. Something like that. Pretty much the same way that we did previously. Right now the way it's set up is it's just going to return 0 no matter what. So pretty much anytime Jake is hit, he's dead automatically. Anytime this damage method gets called. So that's kind of what an interface is, it allows us to kind of organize our coding. So we have some sort of organization for similar characters, you know, or cars or something like that. It's a little bit confusing for brand new programmers and even programmers switching to Java over from like C++ or something. You're like, okay, I don't really get the point of these interfaces. So if you guys are completely lost, that's fine. Once we get into using these more, you'll understand more thoroughly and you'll understand why they are useful. But as for now, I just wanted to give you guys a rough introduction to an interface. And again, it's just for organization, and later we'll talk about polymorphism, probably later in the series. But that's basically it for this tutorial. So hopefully that kind of made sense. Again, just the interface, how you set it up is a public interface, and then whatever your name is, and then you don't really define what type of method, like what the method does or anything like that. We're going to allow the programmer that uses this interface to handle how this method it works. Hopefully that made some sense. If it didn't, don't worry guys, just stick with the series. I completely understand. I remember learning myself, so if you get confused, just stick with it, and one day it's just going to click and you're going to be like, wow, how did I ever struggle with that before? But as for new programmers, it is confusing. Even all this stuff that we've done can be pretty confusing. So again, just stick with it guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one.